Restaurant wine lists are not overpriced. They're probably helping push customers out of wine altogether. Catena Zapata, one of my favorite wineries, just repeated as the world's most admired wine brand. We'll give a little shout out to them. Hey, Germany is trying to make its wine laws easier to understand. Some people are not so sure. And the 1976 redo, the Judgement in Paris, but this time they're doing it in New York. Will George M. Tabor have to write yet another book? All that and more on this episode of This Week Uncorked. Well, hello and welcome to episode 96 of This Week Uncorked. This is for Monday, May 18th, 2026. I'm Brett Martin from Cork and Journey. If you're not familiar with us, that's crazy. We're your number one source for Corkage fees. You know, you want to know what's the Corkage at a restaurant? You come to us, we tell you. We also have winery reviews, wine reviews, restaurant reviews, regional wine guides, which we're rolling out a lot of those now, and much more. Let's get right on into this week's wine news, shall we? All right, this is the Josefina glass. The Josefina, it's a universal wine glass that is supposed to be just the best of the best. I did a taste study with this and the Gabrielle glass side by side. It was 50-50 with 12 people the other day, which one they thought did the best. These are super expensive, so stick with Gabrielle. Anyway, hey, let's get to the news here. Wine Searcher, W. Blake Gray, our favorite, he basically is arguing that restaurant wine pricing is basically turning diners away from the category. And it's not just because of cost, it's because the buy-the-glass experience so often fails to justify the price. I could not agree more. It's absolutely crazy. I was at a restaurant just the other day, and there was a wine by the glass that was $35 a glass. And I'm looking around, and it's a good glass of wine, and I know it's a good bottle of wine, but I'm like, it's early in the day. It's like 11:30. We're probably the first people in there for lunch. And I said to the person, hey, I'll have this, but is it new? Has it been Coravend? She goes, well, I'll have to check, but we can't open a new bottle for you. And I said, well, just bring me a taste. So she brings me a taste of this wine. And number one, it's served at about 75 degrees. So it's been sitting out at room temperature. It was not under any oxygen. It was total garbage. And I said, no. But it's a problem. I digress. Citing a new Market Wine Council research discussed at a recent Napa Press event, Gray is reporting that more than 75% of wine drinkers told the NIQ they are unwilling to pay more than $16 for a glass of wine in a restaurant, while only 15% would go above 18 and just 7% would pay more than 20%. I guess that's me. Directly from the article. For 46% of wine non-adopters, they had a wine they didn't like more than 11 years ago and never tried another. Think about that. Not really a wine drinker. Someone's like, oh, what do you drink? Oh, I'm a beer guy. I'm a gin guy. I'm a this. Oh, would you like to try a glass of wine? They tried that one glass of wine. Didn't like it. Never, ever had another glass of wine. It does make sense. It's like someone said to me, hey, you want to try a vodka and orange juice? And I'd go, that's okay, but I'm never really going to order it, right? Why? So, I don't, although I do like screwdrivers, but I digress. But a really good point. It makes you wonder how many wine drinkers have been lost forever by natural wine bars. WMC president Liz Thatch said that the wine industry has lost 36 million consumers to beer and spirits because of one bad tasting wine in the past. I love the natural wine comment there because most of it is garbage, but a lot of people will scream and disagree with me. Garbage. Whatever you do, don't give a beginning wine drinker a Barolo. That said, those are absolutely the worst possible wine for newbies. Tannic, bitter, austere. They want Moscato. They want a soft Chardonnay. They like a sweet Riesling. Big wine companies have figured this out. That's why wines like Meiomi and The Prisoner sell millions of cases without any praise from the wine media whatsoever. It's kind of true. I think you do kind of need to get people into the world of wine, but also maybe at a more reasonable price. But fascinating article. Again, W. Blake Gray, good stuff. Check it out. I recommend reading the whole thing. But There was another article out around someone who basically is just teaching a class on wine and bringing people in and basically starting with sweet wine to try to get them into that. So a lot to be said there. All right, moving on. Catena Zapata was named the world's most admired wine brand for the second year running by Drinks International. They make such great wine. Their Malbecs are amazing. They just, and Laura Catena, Laura is just the best. She's one of the best advocates for the entire wine industry, for healthy wine drinking, for all of those kind of things. Just a really, really just, fantastic. So they received the award for the 2026 as the most admired wine brand. Again, second consecutive year. Shout out to them. I have to say, though, in running down the list, I took the entire list and it's 100 brands. And if you kind of go through the whole thing, it's very, very tilted old world. Your top 10 is Catena Zapata, and Antinori, Familia Torres, Vega Sicilia, Gaia, Penfolds, Domaine de Romanecante, Symington, CVNE, and La Rioja Alta in Spain. So you'll notice something missing from there. No, except for the Penfolds, Dax and Penfolds in Argentina. There's a couple little new worlds there, right? The U.S., they made it to 34 and 47, and that was Ridge and Opus 1, respectively. And if you break it down by country in this most admired, 14 France, 13 Spain, 7 Italy, 3 Australia, 2 Chile, 2 New Zealand, 2 Portugal, 2 South Africa, 2 US, 1 Argentina, but it's the one that counts at the top, 1 from Lebanon, and 1 from the United Kingdom. So there you go. Drinks International, take it for what you will, but interesting list worth checking out. Love lists. Good to talk about. They make for good viewing. All right, and moving on over at the 57 or 750 Daily, Jim Clark is talking about Germany's new updated wine law. It was a reform that they've been pushing since 2021. It became mandatory this year in 2026 with the vintage. It's basically shifting things down to PGIs and PDOs. They're trying to kind of go with the way things are all over Europe and kind of consolidate things so that when you look at a bottle, you actually go, oh, I know what this is. I know exactly. So from the article, so while the language on the label may become more recognizable overall, German wine isn't getting any simpler. They set up this new German wine law to harmonize with the EU wine law, and now we are coming to the end of the transition. But a lot of questions have popped up, says Thomas Lucen, managing director of Dr. Lucen Winery in Mosel. Perhaps the most contentious point in the new plan concerns the top tiers of single vineyard wines. The new law includes some bare-bone rules for 2 tiers. For both, the grapes must be harvested by hand, the wines must be dry, they must meet specific minimum alcohol levels, minimum yields, minimum aging before being released, on and on and on. Worth reading. This is going to be on your WSET test soon enough, all these new laws. So anyway, pretty interesting. But I do think it's the more I read through the article, I do think it'll make it simpler to look at a wine and go, oh, I know what's going on here, just as you can in Europe. So why not? Hey, and over at Wine Searcher, Vicky Denig is reporting on a recreation of the 1976 Judgement of Paris. Basically, they wanted to kind of recreate that entire experience that happened in 1976. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you haven't, read George Tabor's book. It's the best. It step by step by step. He was there. He was there, so he can tell you what was going on, and it's worth the read. You can also watch Bottle Shock, but it's very fictional. Anyway, this piece centers around Patrick Cappiello and his push to spotlight American wine. And so basically he put together another event to basically go through the entire, to try to recreate it once again. And I guess American wines won. From the article, Cappiello took to social media and encouraged his followers to join him in drinking only American wines for a 2-month period, both to create momentum for struggling producers and expand his own horizons. What he discovered blew him away. The quality of wines that I was tasting, not just from California, but from New York, Virginia, Pennsylvania, was unbelievable. He said, revealing that he was constantly impressed by what he was opening. One night during his tasting journey, Cappiello's partner suggested watching Bottle Shock, a 2008 film based on the 1976 Judgment of Paris tasting. The rest is history. I thought, oh my God, I should really recreate this tasting. And so began his 2-year journey of the 1976 redo. Which brings us to early this week, where I was asked to participate as a judge at the event, joined by, not me, the author of this article, joined by 11 industry colleagues. Our group packed into the back room of Smithereens, New York City restaurant at 9 a.m. to begin the tasting journey. Now, that is my kind of tasting journey, which is genuinely what I believe this to be, more so than a competition per se. The room featured 4 small tables, each with 3 simple place settings, 10 glasses, a notepad, a few spit cups scattered about. Our proctor, the venerable Pascaline Leptier, had already been on the site for God knows how long before our arrival, popping, preparing, and pouring each of the 40 wines in question. The United States came out on top, worth checking out. The list of wines is there. It's all over the map. But anyway, with that, let's get to our wine and winery of the week. All righty, heading over to Paso, Robles, California. Calcareous Vineyards. This is beautiful. Man, oh man, what a gorgeous setting. It's up at the top of the hill, panoramic views. You have indoor and outdoor seating. Price range about $30 for a tasting. I will tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Not a huge fan of their wines. They were good, not great. But having said that, worth the drive going up there. Nice lunch menu, nice tasting lineup. Good way to spend an afternoon. Fit this one in for the stunning views alone. And it's been a few years since I've been there, but might be worth checking out. Maybe the wines have improved a bit, or maybe my palate was burnt at the end of the day. We thought they were good, but nothing went, wow, gotta have it. But that was just me. But man, what a beautiful tasting room. And with that, for our wine of the week, we're going to go to Venteux Vineyards Petite Sirah, also in Paso Robles. This is our 2017, $58 bottle. Gave it 93 points. This is an amazing Petite Sirah. I mean, tannic, a lot of texture, just beautiful. This is one that really stuck with me, and a really, really nice glass. So another vineyard to check up, another tasting room to check out. Venteux Vineyards in Paso Robles. With that, let's get to our restaurant and of the week. All right, this is A Crystal Cove Restaurant. Now, there's a restaurant, which is in Newport Beach. Literally, that's the name of it. And then there's A Crystal Cove Restaurant, which is in Crystal Cove, also in Newport Beach, right on the water there. Basically, just a fantastic little spot. There is a lot of great dining that can be had in Crystal Cove. You have Javier's, you have Marseille Mardon, and if you are there, but this is one of the better places you can go. An absolutely amazing wine list. Everything was just lovely. We gave it 5 stars. It's one of those rare occasions where you walk in and everything start to finish is just absolutely perfect. Corkage fee is only $40 a bottle. I say only because for Newport Beach, that's not bad. And with inflation, I'm starting to see them creep up. It's rare now. I see a corkage fee under $25. It does happen, but it's really, really rare. And then for our corkage of the week, we're going to do a spotlight on Lucky's. This is in Montecito, California. 4.8 stars, over 400 reviews. It's a high-end, old-school steakhouse in Montecito. I'm actually going to be up there this summer doing a coastal drive down. Never been here. $45 a bottle, 2-bottle max for their corkage. And it looks like an excellent, excellent place. So looking forward to checking that out. All right, everybody. With that, we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on social media, follow us on your favorite podcast app. And hey, check out that interview I did with Jack Galante down below over at Galante Vineyards in Carmel by the Sea. A lot of fun. Take care, everybody. Until next week, cheers.